This dance you see today has existed for over 1,000 years. Apsara dance is one of the most iconic cultural symbols of Cambodia, but it's more than just a performance. It's a tradition that dates back to the Angkor Empire, deeply connected to religion, mythology, and royal life. To understand Apsara dance, we need to follow its journey from temple walls to royal courts, through a period of loss, and into what we see today. We begin between the 9th and 15th century, during the height of the Angkor Empire. At temples like Angkor Wat, more than 1,500 Apsara figures are carved into the stone walls. These are celestial dancers in Hindu-Buddhist belief, symbols of beauty, balance, and divine movement. But what makes them important is the detail. Each carving shows specific hand gestures, finger positions, and body posture. At that time, Cambodia did not record dance in written form. So these carvings became a visual system, a way to preserve movement through stone. This is where Apsara dance begins, not as performance, but as an ideal form of movement. After the fall of Angkor in the 15th century, Cambodia entered a different period. The temples were no longer the center of power, but the cultural influence remained. Over the following centuries, especially from the 16th century onward, these visual forms began to be translated into real performance inside the royal court. This is how Apsara dance became part of the royal ballet of Cambodia. The process was gradual. Court dancers studied the temple imagery and transformed static poses into movement. Over time, this became a structured system. Movements were refined and standardized. Hand gestures were assigned meaning. Finger flexibility became part of training. Posture and balance were strictly controlled. By the 19th and early 20th century, Apsara dance had become a formalized classical tradition, performed for the king, ceremonies, and diplomatic events. So what started as stone carvings became a living art, shaped by centuries of interpretation and refinement. This tradition continued for centuries inside the royal court, with dancers trained from a very young age and performing for ceremonies, rituals, and the monarchy. But in 1975, everything changed. During the Khmer Rouge regime, Cambodia's cultural system was dismantled. Artists, musicians, and dancers were specifically targeted. For Apsara dance, this had a direct impact. Most of the trained dancers and teachers from the royal ballet were lost. And because this dance was never fully written down, the knowledge existed only in the bodies and memory of those performers. That means when the performers disappeared, the dance itself almost disappeared with them. After 1979, the rebuilding process began, but it was not immediate. There were no detailed records, no full choreography archives, and very limited visual documentation. So the reconstruction relied almost entirely on surviving dancers. They began by identifying each other, finding who was still alive. Then they started rebuilding the dance step by step. First, the basic positions, hand shapes, arm angles, body posture, then short sequences. And only after that, full choreographies. Training schools were reopened, including institutions connected to the Royal Ballet. A new generation of dancers had to start from the beginning, often learning from teachers who were themselves reconstructing what they remembered. This is why Apsara dance today is both preserved and rebuilt. It carries continuity, but also recovery. When you watch Apsara dance today, it helps to understand what you're looking at. The movement is built around control. For example, the fingers are trained to bend backward. This can take years to achieve. The arms move in slow arcs, maintaining constant tension. The feet move in small, measured steps, never large or exaggerated. The face also matters. Dancers maintain a calm, neutral expression, not to show emotion, but to reflect discipline and balance. Each gesture can represent something symbolic, like a flower, a wave, or a natural element. But the dance is not about telling a fast story. It's about maintaining form, precision, and continuity. That's why the pace is slow, so every detail can be seen. In Siem Reap, Apsara dance is performed in different formats, and the experience depends on where you go. For a more traditional stage performance, you can watch it in Apsara Theatre at Angkor Village. This setting focuses more on the dance itself, with proper staging and lighting. For a combined dinner experience, you can also watch it in Temple Balcony Restaurant, Kulin Restaurant. These are more casual, with food and multiple performances. The key difference is focus. Some places prioritize the cultural performance. Others prioritize the overall experience. Choosing the right one depends on what you're looking for. If you want to understand the dance beyond watching, trying it yourself makes a big difference. In Siem Reap, short classes are available through Khmer Living Arts or Bamboo Stage Siem Reap. These classes usually start with basic hand gestures. At first, the movements look simple, but once you try to hold the position, especially the fingers, you realize how much control is required. Even a short session changes how you see the performance. You stop seeing it as slow and start seeing it as precise. Apsara dance started from carvings at Angkor, became part of the royal court, went through a period where it almost disappeared, and was slowly rebuilt. And today, it's still here. Not exactly the same as before, but carefully preserved and continued. So when you watch it now, you're not just watching a performance. You're looking at a tradition that has survived, adapted, and is still part of Cambodia today.